I'm finally getting to it. The post-game of Pokémon Black and White. So after finally playing the Generation 5 Pokémon games last year, I gained quite the appreciation for the Unova region. But dipping out of the game after the battle against N left a few loose ends, and I had a fair few people encouraging me to carry on a little further after that battle, because things apparently weren't quite finished yet. And seeing as that Black and White video has just risen up to become my most viewed video on the channel, thank you so much by the way to everyone who gave that a watch. I did not expect it to do that well. I thought it's probably a good time to jump back in and explore the post-game. Having recently just finished another playthrough of Pokémon White's base game for leisurely fun, the stars align pretty perfectly. First of all, we get our Pokédex upgraded, because now we've finished the base game, we can find and encounter non-Gen 5 Pokémon. I still think having only Gen 5 Pokémon in the base game was a cool idea, and now you have an extra incentive to re-explore the region in the post-game to find some of your favourite earlier Gen Pokémon. And speaking of exploring, there's a lot to run around and see in the post-game. I've never seen this in a Pokémon game before, but there are several locations in Unova that are locked behind the post-game, like a whole corner of the map we never go to. And I'd never even noticed until opening the menu to fly and seeing that there was this cluster of locations in the northeast yet to be travelled to. So let's see what we've got going on in this elusive corner of Unova. Village Bridge is a pleasant little settlement. There isn't all that much going on here. There's one house where you encounter a girl who quickly scurries away with an army of Patrat, and you can actually see her again on Marvelous Bridge. So many bridges in this game, man. Not complaining though. Where she'll do a little show where you have to keep track of one of her Patrat, and identify where it is once they've all shuffled around for a minute or so, which I got wrong and couldn't be bothered to try again. So I moved along to Lakinosa Town, which again, there isn't much here, it's a nice enough location. There is a bit of lore to soak up in this town though. If you speak to the old woman standing in the northeast corner, she'll tell you the legend of a large meteor that once fell from the sky, that contained a terrifying monster that would appear in the night. That even though the legend has faded over time and no one really believes in it anymore, the town's residents still abide by a curfew and don't leave their houses at night. And the walls that were built around Lakinosa to keep the monster out still remain standing to this day. If you travel east of the town, you'll find where that meteor hit. The giant chasm. Reach the middle of this crater and suddenly the whole forest you're in will freeze over. Then walk to the north and this gives you access to a new cave where you'll find Kyurem. I honestly didn't know you could find Kyurem in the original Black and White games. I thought it was introduced in Black 2 White 2, so this was cool. Popped that boy in a Master Ball because I was not amply prepared for this battle, and we head on out. Undella Town is our next stop. It's kinda like this deserted paradise, but I think this is where seasons come in quite cleverly because I'm here in winter. In summer, this place will be bouncing, I'll bet. But let's see if anyone is chilling out in any of these fancy villas at the moment. Oh. Wait, is that? Whoa, hang on! Sorry, almost lost my cool there. Cynthia, the Sinnoh League champion, makes a surprise appearance in Undella Town and challenges to a battle. It ain't easy either. My Pokemon were level 90 at this point and I still only just scuffed through it. I love stuff like this though. I need Game Freak to do it with newer games. I always say Blueberry Academy should have brought back a few characters from older games. That would have been so good. We also get the Dive HM in this town. Again, didn't even know this was in the game. I remember saying in my original Black and White video that surfing wasn't a huge part of these games because of all the bridges. So diving? Where were we gonna dive? So just off the shore of Undella Town are the Abyssal Ruins, basically an underwater maze. I didn't make it crazy far through here before getting yeeted back to the surface, but you can collect a bunch of stuff down here that sells for a lot of money. Useful if you need money. There's also a split location depending on which version you're playing. I was playing White here, so I entered White Forest, which looks really beautiful and picturesque. And in Pokemon Black you enter Black City, which is like a goth's paradise. Looks really futuristic too. And these locations apparently change visually depending on how many NPCs are currently occupying the location. And there are things you can do to influence that by using the game's online functions. So really dynamic locations. I'd be really interested to play around with them if we do get remakes at some point. There's also a small location called Anvil Town that's only accessible via the Battle Subway as well. So yeah, a lot of new places to amble around in. Even more than I've mentioned here. There's the Battle Institute, and the Royal Unova, and much more to enjoy if you're a hardcore Pokemon battler. I did venture into Challenger's Cave out of intrigue, some strong trainers in there. A couple of them felt like Elite 4 tier battles. So rewinding back to the very beginning for a second, when we come downstairs after the credits, we're acquainted with none other than Looker, who tells us that while Team Plasma appears to have fallen, that the 7 sages of Team Plasma are still at large across the Unova region, and asks for our help in tracking them down. The 7 sages are the ones the gym leaders helped us out with back at the Pokemon League. So again, the game's pushing us to re-explore the region. Some of the sages are found in the new post-game areas, but a lot of them are found in places we've been before. And they serve as a sort of epilogue for Team Plasma in these games. Upon finding them, each sage launches into their own individual monologue, where we get a bit more context around their motivations and their perspectives on what Team Plasma were trying to accomplish. Then Looker storms up, puts them under arrest, and they all go willingly. So we're sort of cleaning up the remnants of the organisation, which is easy enough seeing as they're already as good as defeated. I think there's only one sage that has a couple of grunts battling us. The rest of them just say their piece and disappear with Looker. It's good closure for the Team Plasma story, because it did kind of go from 0 to 100 really fast at the end of the base game, and you'd be forgiven for being left in a bit of a dizzy haze watching the credits. After completing this final mission in tracking down the 7 sages, it felt like the region was finally cleansed. Running around for a bit afterwards, the world definitely felt different. It felt peaceful. I found a couple more legendary Pokemon on my travels. I had a rematch with Cherin in Victory Road. I visited Bianca in the Pokemon Lab, and she was telling me to come back and battle her, but I couldn't figure out how to get her to battle me. She just kept saying the same thing over and over. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me how I can get Bianca to battle me here. While I was up in that Victory Road area rematching Cherin, I also rematched the Elite 4. And this was another real piece of closure for me, and it provided a bit of clarity as well, because I remember being a little confused by the lack of Hall of Fame at the end of the base game. And that's because we never actually complete the Pokemon League that first time around. N and Team Plasma actually interrupt the whole process. So this time around, once we've defeated the Elite 4 again, we actually get the opportunity to battle the champion of the region, Older. And upon beating him, then we're escorted to the Hall of Fame. The pieces are coming together in my head, this is good. There is so much to be gained from not immediately closing out of the game after the initial Elite 4 and N's castle climax. This is all post-game, so by its nature it's not essential, but if you want that full closure, it damn well feels good to get here. Dropping in those last few pieces of the picture ties things up really nicely. And generally, there's a lot to do. They squeezed a lot of content into these games. Did you guys take the time to play through the post-game in Black and White? Or were you satisfied after the original ending enough to put the games down there and then? I do really hope we get new Unova games at some point. I don't know how you navigate the whole 2 games in 1 region thing. At this point, I think I'm leaning more and more towards a Black 3, White 3 kind of situation. Just bring the region into the modern age with a completely new story, and let HD ports somewhere down the line keep the originals alive. Thanks so much for hanging out as we checked out Black and White's post-game. Drop a like on the video if you can, it's a big help. I made a follow-up video recently covering Black 2, White 2 as well. Why not give that one a watch next and give me your thoughts? That video should be on screen somewhere right now. Subscribe for more Pokemon videos, take it easy, and I will catch you all in the next one.